What if I told you that the world as we know it is already moving toward its final chapters? That events foretold thousands of years ago are unfolding before our eyes, piece by piece, like a puzzle revealing a terrifying truth. The apocalypse is not just a distant prophecy, it is a roadmap, a warning, and for those who understand it, a revelation of what is to come. Throughout history, humanity has been haunted by one question: when will the end come? Some ignore the signs, others obsess over them. But one thing is certain: the prophecies are written, and their fulfillment is inevitable. Wars, plagues, natural disasters, and moral decay are not random occurrences. They are echoes of something much greater, signals that the storm is approaching. But here's what most people don't realize. The prophecies of the apocalypse are not just about destruction. They are about choice. Every event, every warning, every judgment described in these ancient texts serves one purpose: to awaken those who are willing to see. This is not a horror story meant to paralyze you with fear. It is a wake-up call, a chance to prepare, to understand, and to choose which side of history you will stand on. The 8 most terrifying prophecies of the apocalypse reveal a future unlike anything humanity has ever faced. Some are already unfolding, others loom on the horizon, waiting for the right moment to strike. From the rise of the Four Horsemen to the final Battle of Armageddon, from the deceptive mark of the beast to the ultimate judgment that awaits every soul, each prophecy is a piece of a much larger divine plan. The world may seem chaotic, but nothing is happening by chance. Every war, every crisis, every moment of uncertainty is part of a larger narrative, one that has been set in motion since the beginning of time. And whether you believe in prophecy or not, you cannot deny that the world is changing at an unprecedented pace. The real question is, are you ready? Because whether you are prepared or not, the final act of history is approaching. And once it begins, there will be no turning back. Imagine looking at the horizon and seeing 4 ominous figures riding toward you. These are not just ordinary horsemen. They are symbols of humanity's fate, messengers of divine judgment. The prophecy of the apocalypse warns us about these 4 beings who will bring transformation and chaos to the world. Each of them carries a profound meaning, and the impact of their arrival can already be felt in our reality. The first horseman appears on a white horse. Many mistake him for a heroic figure, but his true intentions are far more sinister. He represents conquest, the illusion of absolute power. The human desire for domination and control has led to countless wars and disputes. Think of major corporations, political wars, and the obsession with influence. The White Horseman does not wield a sword, but rather persuasion, strategies, and seductive ideologies. Right behind him comes the second horseman, riding a fiery red horse. He needs no introduction, for wherever he goes, destruction follows. This is the horseman of war, chaos incarnate. Civil wars, conflicts between nations, and even internal battles within families fall under his domain. Have you noticed how humanity seems increasingly divided? Violence is rising, hatred is spreading, and the promise of peace feels like a distant dream. The third horseman rides a fearsome black horse. His name? Famine. He holds a scale in his hands, weighing grains as if they were gold. What does this mean? Inequality, scarcity, and despair. Millions of people struggle to survive in a world where a few control most of the wealth. Have you noticed how prices keep rising while wages fail to keep up? Hunger is already a reality for many, and its impact is only set to grow. Finally, the most feared of all, the pale horse's rider. His name is Death, and his inseparable companion is Hell. Wherever he goes, life withers away. Pandemics, natural disasters, and inexplicable tragedies follow in his wake. Remember the 2020 pandemic? It was just a glimpse of what this horseman can bring. The fear of a new plague haunts humanity, as unknown diseases emerge without warning. These 4 horsemen are not just symbolic figures. They represent cycles in human history that continue to repeat. With each new global crisis, we see their influence. But are we prepared for what comes next? History teaches us that these events always precede something greater, something that could change the course of humanity forever. Many people ask, is there a way to escape this prophecy? The answer lies in understanding the signs. The horsemen are warnings, not final sentences. Knowledge is the key to interpreting the times. If we pay close attention, we'll see that we are in the midst of a global transition. But what will be the next step? Humanity has always been under the illusion that it can control everything, but the horsemen of the apocalypse show otherwise. The pride of conquest, the desire for war, insatiable hunger, and inevitable death are forces that challenge any civilization. And what if these horsemen are already riding among us, invisible to the untrained eye? The signs are everywhere. Financial, crises, political tensions, environmental collapses. Have you ever wondered why everything seems to be falling apart at the same time? The world is heading toward a critical point, and ignoring these signs could be a fatal mistake. But there is a way out, and it begins with awakening consciousness. The question that remains is, how far will these horsemen go before something even greater happens? If they are just the precursors to even more intense events, then what's coming next? The apocalypse is not an isolated event, but a sequence of happenings leading us to something inevitable. Each prophecy of the apocalypse carries significant weight, and the Four Horsemen are just the beginning of this great revelation. The true impact of their arrival will only be understood when we look at what follows. The question now is not if these prophecies will be fulfilled, but when. Speaking of which, have you ever heard of the Great Tribulation? If the horsemen announce chaos, then what happens after they depart? What comes next may be even more disturbing. If the Four Horsemen of the apocalypse are merely the harbingers of chaos, then what follows in their wake is even more terrifying. The Great Tribulation is described as a time of unparalleled suffering, a period of global distress unlike anything humanity has ever experienced. Wars, famines, plagues, and natural disasters will escalate to unimaginable levels, shaking the very foundations of civilization. But what makes this period so unique is not just the destruction, it's the test of faith it imposes on those who endure it. Throughout history, we have seen glimpses of what this tribulation might look like. Think of the great wars that left nations in ruins, or the economic collapses that brought entire societies to their knees. Now, imagine all of these crises happening at once, on a scale beyond comprehension. Governments will crumble, lawlessness will spread, and despair will grip the hearts of many. It will be a time when the line between hope and hopelessness grows razor thin. But why does this happen? The prophecies suggest that this is not just about destruction, but purification. The Great Tribulation serves as a final wake-up call, a chance for humanity to recognize its path and choose its destiny. Some will see it as the ultimate punishment, while others will understand it as the last opportunity to turn back before the final judgment. In many ways, we are already experiencing the early tremors of this period. Political instability, environmental disasters, and moral decay seem to be accelerating. The world is divided, and conflicts arise not just between nations, but within families and communities. It's almost as if the world is being pushed to its limits, preparing for something greater. What makes the Great Tribulation so terrifying is that it spares no one. The rich and powerful will not find refuge in their wealth, and the strong will not be able to fight their way out. It is a time when faith, resilience, and wisdom will matter more than material possessions. Those who understand the signs will not be caught off guard, but for many, the coming storm will be a complete shock. Religious persecution will reach new heights. Those who refuse to conform to the emerging global system may find themselves ostracized, hunted, or even executed. Beliefs will be tested in ways never imagined, and standing firm in one's convictions will come at a great cost. This isn't just a battle of survival, it's a battle of the soul. But amid the darkness, there will be glimmers of light. Many prophecies speak of a remnant, a group that will endure, guided by unwavering faith. These individuals will find strength not in power or wealth, but in their understanding of the times. They will resist deception and hold on to the truth, no matter how much the world turns against them. The apocalypse is not just about chaos, it's about revelation. The word itself means unveiling. And during the Great Tribulation, the true nature of humanity will be exposed. Those who have lived by deceit will be revealed, and those who have sought truth will stand as beacons in the storm. The masks will fall, and the world will see things as they truly are. Some believe we still have time to change the course of history, while others argue that the wheels of prophecy are already in motion. Regardless of perspective, one thing is clear: the world is moving toward an unavoidable climax. Those who are prepared will not be surprised, but those who ignore the warnings may find themselves caught in the storm without shelter. And what comes after the Great Tribulation? If this period is the ultimate test, then what follows must be the ultimate consequence. But is it judgment or redemption? The answer lies in the next prophecy, one that speaks of wrath, purification, and a world forever changed. If the Great Tribulation is a time of suffering and testing, then what comes next is divine judgment in its most terrifying form. The 7 bowls of God's wrath mark the climax of the apocalypse, a series of devastating plagues poured upon the world as a response to its corruption. Unlike anything seen before, these judgments are final, irreversible, and all-encompassing. Those who thought they could escape the consequences of their actions will face the full extent of divine justice. The first bowl brings horrific sores upon those who have given their allegiance to the forces of darkness. These aren't just physical afflictions. They symbolize the internal decay of a world that has rejected truth. In many ways, we already see this happening. Societies plagued by moral corruption, dishonesty, and greed, suffering the consequences of their choices. Then comes the second bowl. The seas turn to blood, killing all marine life. The oceans, which have sustained civilizations for millennia, become a source of death instead of life. Imagine entire coastlines littered with lifeless creatures, the stench of decay filling the air. This is not just a physical catastrophe, but a reflection of how human actions have poisoned the very earth that sustains them. The third bowl strikes the rivers and fresh waters, turning them into blood as well. Clean water becomes a thing of the past. What was once taken for granted, pure, life-giving sustenance, becomes scarce. Think about it. Even today, access to clean water is already a privilege in many parts of the world. What happens when that privilege is completely stripped away? The fourth bowl unleashes scorching heat from the sun, intensifying beyond anything humanity has ever known. People will burn, desperate for relief, yet their hearts will remain hardened. Climate crises and extreme weather conditions are already pushing humanity to its limits. Could this be a preview of what's to come? Then comes the fifth bowl, darkness. Not just a lack of sunlight, but a deep, suffocating, unnatural darkness that covers the kingdom of the beast. Panic spreads, and fear takes hold. When everything you rely on disappears into an abyss, what remains? This bowl represents a world consumed by spiritual blindness, unable to recognize truth even when surrounded by suffering. The sixth bowl is even more chilling. It prepares the world for the final battle. The Euphrates River dries up, making way for the kings of the East to march toward their ultimate confrontation. Armies gather, deceived by sinister forces, preparing for a war that will decide the fate of the world. Even now, global tensions rise, and nations posture for power. Are we already seeing the pieces falling into place? And then, the seventh and final bowl. An earthquake so massive that no city, no nation, no empire can withstand it. Islands vanish, mountains crumble, and hailstones the size of boulders rain from the sky. The world as we know it is undone. This is not just destruction. It is purification. Everything built on falsehood will fall, leaving only truth standing. But why such intense judgment? Because the apocalypse is not just about punishment, it is about justice. A world that has embraced deception, violence, and greed cannot go on indefinitely without consequence. The seven bowls serve as a reckoning, a final act before the grand conclusion of all things. Yet, amid all this chaos, there is still a question, left unanswered. After the destruction, what comes next? If everything is being torn down, does that mean something new is about to be built? The answer lies in the next prophecy, one that speaks of a mark, a choice, and an eternal consequence. As the world descends into chaos, a new system emerges, one that promises order, but comes at a terrible price. The mark of the beast is more than just a symbol. It is a test of allegiance, a line drawn between those who conform and those who resist. According to the Apocalypse, this mark will be required for anyone who wants to buy or sell, making it nearly impossible to survive without it. But what exactly is this mark? And why is it considered the ultimate act of betrayal? Throughout history, societies have used marks to signify loyalty, identity, and control. From branding slaves in ancient times to modern-day digital tracking, the idea of marking people is nothing new. But this mark will be different. It will represent submission to a power that opposes everything good, true, and divine. Some believe it will be a literal mark, while others see it as a metaphor for ideological and spiritual submission. Either way, accepting it means surrendering not just your freedom, but your very soul. Imagine waking up one day to find that your bank account is frozen, your job is gone, and your access to basic necessities is denied, all because you refuse to comply. This is not just some distant possibility. The world is already moving towards centralized control of finances, social credit systems, and biometric identification. The groundwork is being laid, and the question is no longer if this will happen, but when. Many will take the mark willingly, believing it to be a necessary step toward a better future. Governments and global leaders will frame it as a means of security, efficiency, and unity. Without it, you cannot function in society, they will say. But at what cost? History has shown us what happens when people trade freedom for security. They lose both. Some will resist, but the cost of defiance will be severe. Those who refuse the mark will be cast out, labeled as rebels, extremists, or even criminals. They will live as outcasts, unable to participate in the system. Survival will depend on underground networks, self-sufficiency, and an unshakable faith in something greater than the material world. The Apocalypse warns that accepting the mark is an irreversible choice. It is not just about economic survival. It is about spiritual allegiance. Those who take it align themselves with a force that ultimately leads to destruction. But those who reject it, despite the suffering they may endure, will be on the path to true salvation. But what if the mark is not as obvious as people think? What if it is not a physical stamp, but a mindset, a way of life that subtly entraps people without them realizing it? The world is already full of distractions, deceptions, and manipulations designed to pull people away from truth. Could it be that many are already marked in ways they don't even recognize? Some believe that resisting the mark means more than just avoiding a specific symbol. It means refusing to conform to a corrupt system, refusing to sell one's soul for convenience, and standing firm in faith even when the world demands submission. This is not just a battle for the body, it is a battle for the heart and mind. Technology, surveillance, and global governance are advancing rapidly, bringing the world closer to a reality where such a mark could become mandatory. Governments already experiment with digital currencies and tracking systems, conditioning people to accept the idea of being constantly monitored. Are we being prepared for something greater without realizing it? Yet, even in the darkest times, there is always hope. The prophecies indicate that those who endure, who stand strong in their convictions, will be rewarded. The suffering may be great, but it is temporary, whereas the consequences of taking the mark are eternal. So, the real question is, when the time comes, will you be ready to choose? And after the mark comes the next chapter, the rise of a deceptive leader and his enforcer, figures who will reshape the world under a false promise of peace. But at what cost? The prophecy of the beast and the false prophet reveals a truth even more chilling. Among all the prophecies of the Apocalypse, few are as feared and debated as the mark of the beast. This mysterious symbol, linked to the infamous number 666, represents ultimate allegiance to the forces of darkness. More than just a mark, it is a declaration, a choice that separates those who conform to the world system from those who refuse to bow to its deception. And in the end, that choice comes at a great cost. The prophecy states that no one will be able to buy or sell without this mark. Imagine a world where access to basic necessities, food, medicine, shelter, depends entirely on one's submission to a global authority. It may sound like the plot of a dystopian novel, but consider how society is already moving toward complete financial digitization, surveillance, and social control. Could the mark of the beast be closer than we think? Many have speculated about its nature. Is it a physical mark, a microchip, or something more sinister, embedded in culture and ideology? The truth is, the real danger lies not in its form, but in what it represents. Total spiritual surrender. Accepting it is not just about survival. It is about forsaking faith, abandoning truth, and pledging loyalty to a system opposed to divine principles. Throughout history, we've seen precursors to such a mark, symbols of power that demanded absolute obedience. From ancient empires to modern regimes, control over people's lives has always been a key strategy for those in power. But this prophecy suggests that, in the end, the final test will not be just political or economic. It will be spiritual. But here's the terrifying part. Those who accept the mark of the beast are sealing their fate. Unlike other apocalyptic judgments, this one is irreversible. There is no turning back. The moment of decision is final, and the consequences are eternal. While those who refuse the mark may face persecution, suffering, or even death, those who accept it will face something far worse, the wrath of divine justice. The pressure to conform will be immense. Imagine a world in crisis, where fear dominates and people are desperate for security. The mark will be presented as the only logical solution, a way to restore order and peace. And yet, beneath this illusion of stability lies the ultimate deception. Those who accept it may feel safe for a time, but they will have traded momentary comfort for eternal condemnation. The warning signs are already here. Governments and corporations push for increased surveillance, digital IDs, and cashless transactions. The idea of a system where access to resources is granted only to those who comply is no longer science fiction. It is an emerging reality. The question is not whether such a system is possible, but when it will become unavoidable. Yet, even in this darkness, there is hope. The prophecy also speaks of those who refuse the mark, those who endure despite persecution. They are not deceived, for they see beyond the illusion. Their faith is unshakable, and their reward is eternal. Though the world turns against them, they know that true security does not come from submission to a corrupt system, but from unwavering trust in something greater. The apocalypse is not just about destruction, it is about decisions. Every person will face a choice: conform or resist, surrender or stand firm. And in that moment, when the world demands total allegiance, the true nature of one's faith will be revealed. And what happens to those who enforce this mark? If the mark of the beast is the ultimate betrayal, then surely there must be a reckoning for those who lead others into deception. This brings us to the next prophecy, the rise of two sinister figures, the beast and the false prophet, who will reshape the world in their own twisted image. In the heart of the apocalypse, two sinister figures emerge, shaping the final chapters of human history. The beast and the false prophet are not mere symbols. They are powerful forces of deception, control, and destruction. Together they lead the world into its darkest hour, luring humanity into a web of lies. While one wields authority through brute force, the other manipulates through deception, ensuring that the masses willingly follow a path to ruin. The beast, often associated with a great empire or ruler, rises from the depths wielding global power. Its influence is unmatched, commanding obedience through fear and oppression. Nations bow before it, economies depend on it, and those who resist face persecution. The prophecies describe this figure as one who blasphemes against truth, exalts itself above all, and demands loyalty through the mark of the beast. Could this be a totalitarian system that governs every aspect of life? Or perhaps a leader who promises salvation but delivers only enslavement? Then comes the false prophet, a master of deception, who works alongside the beast to lead the world astray. Unlike the beast, which enforces power through might, the false prophet seduces through words, miracles, and religious manipulation. He convinces the world that the beast is not an enemy, but a savior. Could this figure be a spiritual leader, a political icon, or an ideology that blinds people from the truth? Throughout history, we have seen glimpses of such figures. Leaders who demand absolute allegiance, regimes that suppress dissent, and systems that claim to bring peace while enforcing control. The seeds of these prophecies have already been planted. The question is, how far are we from their full manifestation? The false prophet's greatest weapon is deception. He performs signs and wonders, creating illusions of peace and prosperity. People are eager to believe in miracles, especially in times of crisis. And yet, behind the facade of hope, a darker agenda unfolds. What happens when the world follows? A leader who claims to offer salvation, but ultimately leads them into destruction? The beast and the false prophet create a world where resistance comes at a cost. Those who refuse the mark of the beast are hunted, ridiculed, and cast out of society. Standing firm against this system requires immense courage. Could you imagine a time when holding on to your beliefs means losing everything? Your job, your home, even your freedom? Many believe these figures are coming in the future. Others argue they are already here, disguised under political, technological, and ideological movements. The signs are clear. The rise of mass surveillance, the silencing of dissenting voices, the growing push for a unified global system. Are we being conditioned to accept what's to come? But even in this darkness, there is a flicker of hope. The apocalypse is not only about deception, it is about revelation. Truth will eventually triumph, and those who see through the lies will stand as beacons in a world consumed by shadows. The beast and the false prophet may rise, but their reign is not eternal. And what is their fate? Unlike those who follow them, their destiny is sealed. The prophecies speak of a final battle, where these two figures will meet their end. But before that moment arrives, the world must face its most terrifying conflict, the war to end all wars, the final battle between good and evil. This brings us to the next prophecy, Armageddon, the confrontation that will decide the fate of humanity. After the rise of the beast and the false prophet, after the world has been deceived and divided, comes the inevitable moment of reckoning, the Battle of Armageddon. This is no ordinary war. It is the final climactic confrontation between the forces of good and evil, a battle prophesied for millennia. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance, and there will be no turning back. The prophecy describes armies gathering in a place called Armageddon, a real location in the ancient land of Israel. Kings and nations, deceived by the beast, march toward their doom, believing they can defy divine justice. But this is not just a geopolitical war. It is a spiritual one. This is the moment when darkness believes it has the upper hand, unaware that it is marching straight into its own destruction. History has seen countless wars, all fought over power, territory, and ideology. But Armageddon is different. It is not merely a struggle between nations. It is a battle that will decide the ultimate destiny of the world. The armies are not just soldiers. They are symbols of humanity's final choice: to follow truth or deception, to stand with light or be consumed by darkness. The deception runs deep. The false prophet convinces the world that this war is necessary, that it is the path to peace. Leaders rise, promising victory, but in reality, they are walking into judgment. Even now, we see how propaganda, fear, and manipulation are used to rally people into conflicts they do not fully understand. Could this be a foreshadowing of the final battle? As the forces of darkness assemble, something unexpected happens. The heavens open. A figure unlike any other appears, riding on a white horse, wearing a robe dipped in blood. He is called Faithful and True, and his name strikes terror into the hearts of his enemies. This is not just another ruler. This is the return of Christ, coming to end the reign of the beast once and for all. The battle is swift and decisive. Unlike human wars, fought with guns and bombs, Armageddon is won with the power of divine judgment. The beast, the false prophet, and all who followed them realized too late that they were fighting a war they could never win. In a moment, the deception crumbles and truth stands victorious. And what happens to the beast and the false prophet? They do not escape. The prophecy is clear. They are seized and thrown alive into the lake of fire, their reign of terror coming to an abrupt and eternal end. The armies that followed them are struck down, their rebellion against divine authority leading them to their downfall. But what about the world left behind? If Armageddon marks the end of one era, does it also signal the beginning of another? With the forces of darkness defeated, what comes next? Is this truly the end, or is it the dawn of something new? The prophecies suggest that after the destruction there is restoration. A world purified, a world transformed. But before that can happen, there is one final judgment, a moment where every soul will stand before the ultimate throne, where justice will be served once and for all. This leads us to the next prophecy, the final judgment, where every action, every choice, and every allegiance will be weighed, and eternity will be decided. After the dust of Armageddon settles, after the beast and the false prophet are cast into the lake of fire, one final event remains, the final judgment. This is the moment that has been foretold since the beginning of time, the day when every soul stands before the throne of ultimate justice. There will be no escape, no deception, and no second chances. Every thought, every action, and every choice will be laid bare. The prophecy speaks of a great white throne, shining with unapproachable light. Before it, all of humanity, past, present, and future, will gather. Kings and peasants, the powerful and the weak, the faithful and the faithless, all will be judged without bias. Status, wealth, and influence will mean nothing here. Only truth will remain. Books will be opened, containing the records of every life. Every hidden deed, every whispered word, and every secret intention will be revealed. No one will be able to argue, manipulate, or deceive. For this judgment is not based on opinion. It is based on absolute knowledge. Justice will be perfect, and each will receive exactly what they deserve. Another book will be opened, the Book of Life. In it are the names of those who chose truth over deception, light over darkness. Those whose names are written in this book will step into eternity, free from suffering and corruption. But those whose names are not found will face a different fate, one too terrifying to fully comprehend. The judgment is not arbitrary. Every person has had the opportunity to choose. Some have built their lives on truth, while others have embraced the prophecies of deception. The choices made in life now lead to an unchangeable destiny. This is not a trial with debates and defenses. It is the unveiling of reality, the final reckoning of all things. And then comes the most chilling moment of all. Those who rejected truth, who embraced the mark of the beast, who followed the deception of the false prophet, will meet their ultimate end. They will be cast into the lake of fire, a place of eternal separation, where all corruption is consumed and justice is absolute. But for those whose names are in the book of life, a new beginning awaits. The prophecy does not end with destruction. It ends with renewal. After the final judgment, a new world is revealed, one without pain, suffering, or death. It is a world where justice is eternal, where light reigns, and where the battle against darkness is finally over. The apocalypse was never about fear. It was about choice. And now, every choice has led to this moment. The judgment is not just about punishment. It is about setting things right, restoring balance, and ensuring that evil never rises again. It is the final chapter of one story, but the first chapter of something greater. What does eternity hold? If the world as we know it has been judged and purified, then what comes next? If this is the end of one age, then it must be the beginning of another. And that leads us to the final prophecy, the new heavens and the new earth, the promise of a world reborn, where the past is no more, and a glorious future begins. After the storm of judgment, after the final reckoning, comes something unimaginable, a new beginning. The prophecy speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, a world reborn from the ashes of the old, where suffering, pain, and death are no more. This is not just a restoration. It is a complete transformation, the fulfillment of a promise made since the dawn of time. The apocalypse was never just about destruction. It was about renewal, about the end of all that is corrupt so that something pure could take its place. Imagine a world where injustice, war, and sorrow have ceased to exist. A place where love, peace, and truth reign forever. This is not a distant dream. It is the final reality. The prophecy describes a new city, a heavenly kingdom descending upon the earth, shining with divine glory. This is the New Jerusalem, a place beyond imagination, where the presence of the divine is no longer hidden but fully revealed. There will be no need for sun or moon, for light itself will emanate from the eternal presence that dwells there. Think of everything that causes suffering in the world today: disease, poverty, fear, injustice. Now imagine a world where none of these exist. No more hunger, no more wars, no more broken hearts. Every tear wiped away, every wound healed, every sorrow forgotten. Could there be a greater hope than this? The new earth is not just a place, it is a state of being. A reality where humanity is restored to its original purpose, living in harmony, not just with one another but with creation itself. The division between the physical and the spiritual is erased, and all things exist in perfect unity. It is paradise, not just regained, but made even greater. But who will enter this new world? The prophecy makes it clear. Only those who have chosen truth, those whose names are written in the book of life. The gates of this eternal city are open, but only for those who have turned away from deception, who have resisted the mark of the beast, who have endured the trials of the apocalypse with faith unshaken. There will be no more fear, no more doubt. The struggles of this world will seem like a distant memory. Every hardship, every sacrifice, every moment of suffering endured for the sake of truth will be worth it. For this is the reward, the ultimate fulfillment of every longing for justice, peace, and love. And what of time itself? In this new reality, eternity stretches out before those who enter. There is no end, no decay, no passing away. The cycles of suffering that have plagued humanity for millennia are finally broken. This is life as it was always meant to be. The prophecy ends not with sorrow, but with hope. Not with fear, but with the promise of something greater than anything we could ever imagine. The end of the old world is not a tragedy. It is a necessity for something infinitely better to take its place. And here lies the great mystery of eternity. It is not merely endless time, but infinite purpose. Those who step into this new reality will not simply exist, they will thrive, explore, create and reign alongside the divine, forever growing in wisdom and love. It is not stagnation, but an endless unfolding of beauty, discovery, and joy. This is the grand design of eternity, an existence where every moment is richer than the last, where fulfillment knows no limit, and where the journey never ends. Now that you have seen the 7 most terrifying prophecies of the apocalypse, one question remains. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you dismiss it as just another story, or will you recognize the signs all around you? Because whether you accept it or not, the world is heading toward an irreversible turning point, and every decision you make from this moment on matters. These prophecies are not just warnings, they are opportunities. A chance to wake up, to understand the times we are living in, and to make a choice before it is too late. Every war, every crisis, every act of deception unfolding in front of us is leading to something greater. The storm is not coming, it is already here. But here's the most important part. You are not powerless. You have the ability to prepare, to seek truth, and to stand firm when the world demands that you conform. If history has taught us anything, it is that the few who recognize the signs are the ones who endure, the ones who refuse to be deceived, the ones who choose to see beyond the illusion. So I ask you, are you paying attention? Or are you still asleep, believing that life will continue as it always has? Because the moment will come when ignorance is no longer an option. The world as you know it will change, and when it does, only those who are prepared will stand firm. Let this not be just another video you watch and forget. Engage with this message. Share your thoughts, your questions, your fears. Let's build a community of people who are awake, who seek knowledge, and who refuse to be caught off guard. Leave a comment below. What do you think about these prophecies? Which one feels the most real to you right now? And if you want to continue uncovering the truth about the mysteries of the apocalypse, make sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Because trust me, there is still so much more to uncover, and you don't want to miss what's coming next.